Recording in progress.
Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock. I call the January 8th meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9, Verizon Channel 29. Meetings are also archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who miss the live meeting. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using the number 929-205-6099. This will not permit participation in the meeting. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens are able to join a Zoom webinar using Zoom webinar ID 832-8682-5178, then hit the pound sign. Once again, it's 832-8682-5178 pound. Any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address when joining the webinar. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. I was just going to say, Councilor Ledger was going to be a few minutes late, but he just arrived. So, upcoming town events. We're excited to share that the town has launched the National Commuter Survey. The NCS collects feedback from residents on a wide array of topics, which will be incorporated into future policy discussions, and strategic planning. Survey invitations are currently being mailed out to 5,000 randomly selected households. Residents who are not part of the random sample will be able to complete the community-wide version of the survey when it is released next month. For more information, please visit the National Community Survey page on the town's website. The Franklin Public Library will be hosting a Ben Franklin Birthday Bash on Friday, January 17th at 1 p.m. Come celebrate the birthday of Ben Franklin himself with music, games, costume contests, and more. The Town Council will hold its office hours next week on Thursday, January 16th at 8:30 at the Franklin Senior Center. Okay, next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Nothing herein shall prevent the town administrator from correcting a misstatement of fact during citizens' comments. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Jane, please come forward. Name and address, please.
Jane Calloway Tripp, 607 Maple Street. Good evening. I hope everybody had a happy new year. I'm here tonight to inquire again about some minutes that are missing from the town website, which residents rely on to review past meetings. Currently, as a town, we are discussing the possibility of a second special election for an override, following the one that we had last spring that did not pass. With the joint sub-budget meetings about to resume, I went to the town website to access the minutes from last year's meetings, and unfortunately I could not find them. The only minutes available were from the month of September. As I've mentioned before, it's unrealistic to expect residents to re-watch lengthy past meetings, especially the joint budget meetings, which were quite extensive. Reviewing minutes allow residents, including myself, to quickly refresh our memories, pinpoint specific topics, and then focus on the relevant meeting videos. While I understand that completing minutes takes time, I find it concerning that town employees seem to have ample time to work on a town logo at taxpayers' expense, yet the minutes from last year's joint budget meetings, a need, remain unavailable. From what I have heard, many residents aren't even in favor of the logo that was chosen. If there is time for a project like the logo, which is a want, then there should have been time to produce and publish the minutes, which are required. Not having them accessible is a violation of our town charter. These minutes are available, if these minutes are available on the website, then I kindly ask someone to direct me to them. I've asked several people to search for them, and they've also been unable to locate them. The purpose of the town website is to provide residents with accessible information, and these minutes are no exception. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So, Jane, I know I answered an email, I think, yesterday from Lisa McDonald, and I put a link in there for the meeting that was on December 17th, the Joint Budget Subcommittee meeting. They approved all of the minutes at the December meeting, and so if you go into that link in that email that you were copied on, if you go to that meeting agenda, you'll see all the minutes that were in there. So they did approve.
They'll be on there now?
Well, they were on there in December, but they're on there now. I don't know if they're on the Joint Budget Subcommittee site yet because we're in the middle of the website transition project, but the joint budget meeting did approve all the minutes.
Sir?
Okay. Please, name and address.
Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I want to start off by just saying something that I've not really said before, that I love the town of Franklin. I really love it. I grew up here. It provided a great place for me to develop in my childhood, to educate me through grades 1 through 12, and to set me off on the course of my life. My daughter happens to be here with me tonight. My granddaughter, her daughter is in the Franklin school system now. I love this town. I want to see what this town offered me continue to be offered to children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, not just of mine, but of all of us. I really believe that we need to look at the override again. As Jane referred to, we looked at it last year. It didn't pass. I think we really need to take a second cut at it. And I believe that several meetings, finance meetings in particular, have shown that we're going to have some issues if we don't override. This morning, my wife of 42 years today was able to find an interesting part of the Natick website. Now, Natick has just put up a brand new link to a website for the town of Natick to help residents understand the pros and cons, the financial issues and so forth of them passing their override vote, which I believe is happening also this year in 2025. Jamie, I think you know the town administrator, Jamie of Natick. My request to all of you is, first go to this website and take a look. You can see it referred to on the very first page of the Natick website now. It has information about timing, time frame, schedules of events and meetings throughout the year. It has another website link about budgetary information. And I think the most important part is there's a Q&A section at the end. So getting at the question that I believe Frank Falvey was asking about a couple of months ago, and I know that you guys discussed in December, and maybe we can't get a pros and cons sheet out there in front of everybody, but on the website, you can address Q&A throughout the months of the discussion and address questions and answers there. I really would love for you to all look at that, and for us in the town of Franklin to consider maybe borrowing, begging, or stealing some of that same setup of the website that Natick has already put into place, and maybe adopting that and adding it to the Franklin website. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's only correcting of misstatements. It's the only response that can
Were there any?
happen.
We have one.
Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda?
We're not there yet.
Please name and address.
Kim Muchel, 4 Barwood Road. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
I just wanted to thank the residents of Franklin and Jamie for supporting the first community coat drive that we held in Franklin, and the support of the fire department, the police department, Hockomock YMCA, New England Chapel, and Franklin United Methodist Church. We gathered over 600 coats. And on December the 14th, we gave away about 325 coats. And because we kind of like have ties with Milford as well, and since we're not doing monthly coat giveaways, and Milford does, we transported our extra coats up to there. And so Sacred Heart actually had their second coat drive. And so over the 3 coat drives, we have managed to give away over 1,000 coats to keep people warm this winter. And it wouldn't be possible without the support of this town and the support of the citizens, and we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
The other thing is, I just wanted to acknowledge the Franklin Senior Center and FOFI, that they gave the most wonderful winter wonderland, and all the Christmas trees from the town departments, et cetera, were just beautiful, and it's a multicultural event that was just awesome for everyone that attended.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Seeing no one, is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? I don't see anybody viewing. No. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 18th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Proclamations and recognitions, we have none this evening. Appointments, none. Public hearings. First public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-917, a zoning bylaw to amend chapter 185, section 3 of the Code of the Town of Franklin, definitions, accessory dwelling units. I declare the public hearing open. And as this, Jimmy, you want to do a quick?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So at the end of the day, regardless of the planning board decision, the council is required by state law to approve this. The council already was well ahead of this by having an ADU bylaw, I think a couple of years ago. I'm losing track of time, but I know it was in the last couple of years. There's only one change in this bylaw, which is required by state law, that we had to correct, which was essentially to take out the fact that we didn't have this in our bylaw. It was in a different section about the definition of family. Our bylaw actually allows a family to define themselves in Franklin. It's been like that for many, many years. But a lot of towns in ADU bylaws, many other communities have that you have to have a member of your family live in that ADU. The state law prohibits that. So it can be a rental, it can be anybody else. It does not have to be a blood family relative. So that's really ultimately the only change this bylaw is doing, is taking out that technical correction so that our bylaw conforms with state law. That's it in a nutshell. I know the planning board recommendation was against this, but unfortunately they don't really have that choice. At the end of the day, this is a state law, and as you saw today, the MBTA communities law was upheld by the Supreme Judicial Court. I anticipate that if another community tries to tackle the ADU issue, they're going to find the same exact result from the SJC. So it's really advantageous for us to do this, not only to comply with state law, but it also creates more housing units and does create more value for properties within the community. And we fully support this as a staff, and we appreciate the support of the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will go to the public first. Is there anyone in council chambers? Please come forward. Name.
Yes, Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive. I happen to be co-chair of an organization we call Ben for Franklin, which is building equitable neighborhoods for Franklin. You've heard me probably say that before. It's unfathomable to me to understand why the planning board chose to not vote in favor of this, given the fact that the state mandates this and has already legislated that it should be so. I believe, and I think most of the organization that is part of Ben for Franklin also believes that in order to help bring costs of housing down in Franklin, we need to have more housing units available. And housing units like ADUs will be on the more affordable side typically. So there's two reasons why we should allow more ADUs to be built by right in the town of Franklin, and I don't understand why the planning board would want to limit that. So I appreciate the council's support of this moving forward. It keeps us in line with the state, keeps us out of the courts and spending money on litigation, because the state would probably sue the town if we didn't go ahead and approve this. So I appreciate the council's approval of this.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on this zoning bylaw amendment? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on this zoning bylaw amendment? I don't see anybody. Do you, Amy? Okay, I'll go to the council. Are there any councilors that would like to speak on this zoning bylaw amendment? Councilor Plegri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jamie, I thought we brought this forward at another time, and I almost remember the conversations that were held as to why we should allow any person to be moving into these ADU units, because how would we go about checking them out and all of that to make sure they were relatives and not whatever? Do you remember that? Wait, I don't know if you would, but Mark, do you?
Original referral to the planning.
Right. Yeah, I think it might have been a discussion when we referred it to the planning board. Actually, having it as family member only actually makes it exponentially harder to enforce. The fact that the state took that requirement out actually makes it easier, because we don't have to enforce anything, because it can be anybody. So previously it was more challenging. This actually creates more equity for everybody by not having to enforce everything, by checking what their family status is of that person. So I think we did talk about it. Don't forget, Councilor Party, not only did we refer it to planning board for this piece, but when we did the major bylaw rewrite last year, there was several meetings, and I'm sure that this issue probably came up at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was the conversation that I remember
Yeah.
that we had too,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
evidently, if it was brought up, it was just never passed forward or anything, but I think that this is a good idea.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Mark, you don't remember anything that came up another time?
Only what I said. I mean, this is, when we were working on the definition, we talked about different
Yeah.
components. So it could have been
Yeah.
anywhere in that process, because that was an extended process.
Good. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Any other councilors? Councilor Chandler?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I'm all for this. It's just, was that the only issue with the planning board, was had to be a relative?
I don't, oh,
Oh, okay, I didn't see
Attorney
any.
Sorrell?
So what we required in our bylaw initially was that, as it says here, that the owner of record of the property live on the premises. Didn't matter whether it was the primary or the accessory, but we wanted them on the premises for policy reasons. The legislature has since considered it and rejected that as a condition, so we don't have a choice anymore.
Okay.
I think the answer to, or the question that you were asking, was that the only issue the planning board had with this zoning bylaw amendment? I'm not sure that that's the
only thing
case.
that's changed.
It's the only.
That's
thing
what I
that's
thought,
changed.
okay. And again, thank you, Mr. Sorrell. That was, we have no choice
Yeah.
anyway. But I support this the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any other councilors? Councilor Handler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through the chair. Just very quickly, Jamie said it enough. We've already talked about this. Councilor Pellegrini is correct. We've spoken about this a lot. And we did our bylaw, we changed it. This is the state regulations. I have to say, I agree 100% with what what Mark said, not Kelly, sorry. And I think this is a great thing. I think we should do it, and I'm all for it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a problem with this change. My question is a general question about ADUs. Since we've been making these changes with ADUs, I don't know if the question's to Brian or to Jamie, but have we had any interest in property owners wanting to add ADU units to their properties? And how many are we talking, or just a rough idea?
There has been an increase in the number of ADUs in town, but it's not, not doubling or anything, the number or anything of that nature. So it does open up opportunities. People come in the office and ask about how it's done and what can we do to have that happen. But it's not substantial. Here we go. Mr. Brown could be able to, he might even be able to give you an exact
were you
number.
watching the meeting? That was incredible.
He was
I
watching
told
the
him to
meeting
be
out in
here
the
today.
hall.
Does have good times.
So, Gus, my general question was, has there been a piqued interest in adding ADUs in the town of Franklin since we've been discussing the addition of these?
Very much so. It's happened, to you, Mr. Chairman. Gus Brown, Building Commissioner. It has been an uptick in people inquiring, and they're waiting until February, so they don't have to go to a board.
Gotcha. So if you would give me a rough number, what do you think? 6, 12, 15, 20,
Probably 15.
15? Okay. That's fair, for considering, the likelihood that people would be able to even put an ADU in their property. That's not a bad number.
Yeah, I think the interest is there. Whether or not they'll actually do it
Yep.
is another question. I think there's been so much advertisement between the state and us as well. And the good thing is Franklin's always on the cutting edge of
Yes.
bringing some legislation into force before it actually happens, which we've always done that. We did that with the marijuana. and we're doing.
Yeah, look what that benefit is. Good. Thank you, Gus. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Again, construction costs might have,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
might have an impact on whether they go through with it.
Slightly inhibitive.
Slightly. Any other councilors?
Right here. Bobby.
Councilor DeLocco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I was just gonna say, the cost of building, I mean, there was one in my neighborhood, the guy went up and, I think their parents paid for it, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think it's good. I do disagree with you, Mark. I think more housing, rent's never going down. It's not gonna go down. I'm telling you, it's not gonna go down.
I'm going to send you an article.
No, you can send me an article as much as you want. It's not gonna go down.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor DeLocco. Any other councilors? Okay, I will declare the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-917 closed. Not at the moment. And because I don't see a lot here, I think we'll wait on the legislation, do all the legislation at the same time. So let's go to the next public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-918, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at Chapter 185, Attachment 8, Use Regulations, Schedule Part CV2, Accessory Uses. I declare that public hearing open. Jamie, you want to give a brief overview?
Yeah, through this piece is just to make the necessary requirements to the accessory use table. Government stuff, right. It's just the zoning table which governs
Right.
what Gus and Brian and the staff and Bricolai do, and so it's just a formality. Unfortunately, you have to do these through multiple votes, as all of you know.
Okay.
Understood.
Yep.
Is there anyone, it is a public hearing, so therefore we go to the public first. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on this zoning bylaw amendment? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on this zoning bylaw amendment? Not seeing any. Councilors, are there any councilors that would like to speak on this zoning bylaw amendment? Seeing none, then I will declare the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-918 closed. And we will move on. We will move on to zoning bylaw amendment public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-919, a zoning bylaw to amend chapter 185, section 20 of the Code of the Town of Franklin, signs at C3 to be continued. So do we need to?
Open it up and then continue it to the date and time, sir.
Okay, so I declare the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-919, and I'd entertain a motion to continue the public hearing on this zoning bylaw amendment till January 22nd, 2025 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is
I was
second,
gonna say the whole
discussion on the
thing, but
motion. Councilor Frangillo.
Just quickly, planning board has been maybe skeptical of some changes, and which is great. We love their feedback when it's feedback. So this is the third one that they were choosing not to recommend. But we just get this letter that says we don't recommend. Now, I happen to watch them, but even then, in watching them, it's not fully clear why they're not recommending. Is it possible to encourage some sort of practice that they put a statement as to why they not recommend? You know, that would just be helpful for us to engage with.
Because that would help Councilor
That
Chandler.
was thank you, that was my original question.
Exactly right, Cole.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on the motion to continue the public hearing? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to continue the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-919 to January 22nd, 2025. Majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I would declare the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-920, a zoning bylaw to amend chapter 185, section 20 of the Code of the Town of Franklin, signs at E2, open. And I would then entertain a motion to continue the public hearing of zoning bylaw amendment 24-920 to January 22nd, 2025 at 7 p.m.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Motion is a second. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to continue the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-920 to January 22nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have no license transactions. Presentations and discussions, we have two this evening. Frank, the first one, Franklin Ridge Senior Affordable Housing Project Update. Brian Taverner, Director of Department of Planning and Community Development. Brian, welcome.
Thank you. All right, so we're giving you two presentations back to back tonight. One would be the Franklin Ridge Senior Housing Project, which has made great strides in recent years. And then we'll talk about housing in general in town for a bit. So the Franklin Ridge project has been divided into two projects, essentially. One is the town's project itself. The town of Franklin is working on roadway and public utilities. The extension of Veterans Memorial Drive itself is the primary thing. It would give access to Franklin Ridge Senior Housing Project and two additional parcels of land up there. Then there is J and Jewel and Associates LLC project. They are the developers of the 60-unit Franklin Ridge Senior Housing. So they're two separate projects, but we're working together to implement. Those of it that you do not know, the Franklin Ridge project is on a parcel of land owned by the Franklin Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. It's off of Panther Way on the end of the Veterans Memorial Drive. And very recently, the planning board approved a subdivision of the parcel. Lot 1 in the center of that diagram is the Franklin Ridge Senior Ridge project. Lot 2 and 3 are additional lots for affordable housing in the future. The road will go up to the adjacent roadway, but there will be a gate there, and it will be emergency access only, so it will not be a cut-through in that area. The Franklin project, again, is the roadway extension. We have a stormwater system, including a separate lot for infiltration and containment of water. We have utilities, sidewalks, lighting. We have a wetland replication portion of it. We have two wetlands on site. We're going to connect the two with additional wetland because we needed to fill a very small amount of wetlands. We also have a new water pumping station, which is going to be at the corner of Panther Way and Veterans Memorial. And we have the demolition of an old water pumping station also. So Franklin Ridge Housing Projects, we're going to give you a quick run through few of the slides that they've provided for us. Again, this is the, right in the middle of there where we said Lot 1 is the building that will be built. 3 stories high, 60 housing units, parking in the back, and amenities. Give you a front and left side elevation of view, the rear and the side elevation. This is the ground floor plan. It has some common areas in there. In addition, it has some of the housing units. This is the second floor with housing units. The third floor is identical, so I did not include that one. There are 54 one-bedroom units and 6 two-bedroom units to be proposed at this point. So the project funding is, I'm very impressed with our legislators, with the town's efforts, grant writing and everything. The infrastructure and roadway project, the town project, we received a housing choice grant several years ago, and DPW put in some consulting money to do the roadway. It's the preliminary design for that work there. We did more work for the subdivision plan application, which was, like I said, that was just approved recently. We received a 2023 MassWorks grant of $3.2 million, which is the bulk of the roadway construction project itself. And recently, we received a HUD, Economic Development Initiative Community Project Fund grant. I think that's what the acronyms are. And basically, that's congressionally directed spending. So our legislator had this as one of their projects, and that's why it's in there, $850,000. Combined, we have, for the town project itself, we have $4.3 million, a little over that. And we'll probably end up being a few dollars short, but we're getting there, very close. The Franklin Ridge project, again, the town's ARPA funding, $280,000, was John Joel was able to hire an architect engineering to do that work there. And the construction portion, the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust committed $500,000. Franklin Community Preservation is $320,000. On the Affordable Homes Act, has $3 million that is set aside for for that project. I don't know when we're going to get it, but it's because there's dozens of other projects that'll be funded through that same act. But hopefully we'll get it before we get under construction. And so again, that is $4.1 million for that portion right there. Now, John can talk a little bit, he talked about this in great detail, but essentially there is a lot of federal tax credits and state tax credits that this project is receiving. The Healy Driscoll administration did award $8.5 million publicly, but John tells me the dollar amounts are going to be substantially more, and that's the reason for the numbers there. So, just to give you an idea, so on the funding, $28 million or so in public funding of one sort or the other. And in addition, there are things that, in addition to the support of the project, the Housing Trust donated 6.5 acres of land. The Franklin Public Schools given us an easement on the corner of their property for the pump house on down, okay? And the administration, engineering, everybody has put in countless hours on grant writing, grant management, planning, project management. And a note on the bottom, enormous thank you to the Healy Driscoll administration, Secretary Augustus, Undersecretary Maddox, Congressman Auchincloss, Senator Ross, Representative Roy, CPA Committee, Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, Town Council, of course, and everyone for their advocacy and support of the project thus far. Timeline. The booster pump station has already been bid, and their construction on that portion of the project will start in April. The roadway construction bidding, it's going out to bid right now, and we should have a construction beginning in March or April for that. That'll be the extension of the roadway. And the senior housing project, the bidding is next month, and they will begin construction as soon as we have cleared the way to where their site is, okay, which should be June of 2025. They expect their project to be 18 months. And I would take some questions if anybody has on anything on that.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Very exciting, for sure.
Yes.
Questions from the council? Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Brian, for the presentation. Just for our own purposes and anybody listening, once the project is complete, is the goal that it be handed over to the Franklin Housing Authority to administer, or how does that work for the management of the facility?
No, the developer will obtain will have a manager of the site. It will be a private property, but it's 100% affordable housing units, and it's for seniors. So it's, so you don't have to be a Franklin resident moving in there, but we're hoping that a lot of the seniors in this community have a place to go in those. But it's a privately owned, affordable housing development. And again, substantially less money than if you were a regular developer, for an apartment.
So residents will go through the developer to whatever their application process is and verification of income and all that stuff. It'll be through them. It won't be through
Correct.
another town entity.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Any other councilors? Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I know we've been talking about this for a while, but I'm really excited to see this moving forward. It's great to see this is starting to get off the ground. I mean, I'm excited that the funding came together as efficiently as it did and as quickly as it did at the last minute to kind of help this ball to get moving. But I'm excited for it. My grandmother-in-law, who unfortunately passed away not too long ago, lived in Eaton Place, and I loved that place. I was jealous of the housing that they had. It's funny because before her passing, she did say to me, my mother-in-law mentioned to me, it'd be nice if we can see some improvements in the new Franklin Ridge that from the tenants who are living in Eaton Place, maybe if they could have some say or some input into what the building has for amenities and stuff like that. But I'm excited for it. This is definitely something the town needed, and it's such a great benefit for our seniors. So thank you everybody for all the hard work that's gone into making this happen. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick note on why this excites me beyond just providing affordable senior housing options. Doing so intentionally helps us then plan our transportation around existing housing. And so what excites me about building out Veterans Way is we now have a concentration of our senior affordable housing who are our most frequent users of GATRA services, and we could be much more intentional about planning transit pickups to and from that area. Those types of merges of housing and transit, while it hasn't been an explicit part of this, are what excites me. Rather than blindly plopping down housing throughout town and then chasing it by bus, we can be intentional about where we're placing our housing in a way that's more accessible for different users. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor DeLarco?
Thank you. For sure, we have a need. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we have a need for a lot of housing, but You said we were gonna be a few dollars short, did you say, Brian? But,
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
yeah, I was kinda curious. I mean.
But based on our preliminary estimates of construction,
I thought it was
we're-
30 million, right? Yeah.
well, we're talking about the roadway portion of
road.
stuff.
Just the
That- I'm not talking about the Senior Ridge
Yeah, 'cause they're
housing
doing
itself.
it's private. Yeah.
Maybe we're gonna need a couple $100,000 more to actually complete that, but we'll get the funding, we'll be able to.
No,
We'll
that's
pass the
fine.
hat around.
No, that's fine. I just
Exactly,
won't
yeah,
any
yeah.
stripes
Yeah, I
on
just,
the street, Bobby.
Just needed to, well, that's all right, I got painters at Logan that come up and do it for nothing. Don't worry about it. I can take care of that.
All set, Councilor Dillon. Councilor Chandler.
Oh, I'm all set. I just wanted to reiterate what everyone said, that how exciting this is and
For sure.
how, I can't believe how many, everybody came together. I mean,
Yeah.
Jamie, this is incredible. We got all those people that come together, all these grants and everyone in town. This is just, it's very exciting. And that it's gonna happen in June. This isn't like 5 years down the road, like when you first started talking about
I was
this.
shocked.
I know, it's very exciting.
Yep.
Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just gonna say, when Kobe says what excites him the most, I was like, that, what Councilor Chandler said, for me, is like what's really exciting, how there's this partnership with public and private, and everybody's working together. We're gonna be able to use some CPA funds for this, like that's like what it's for, and that's really exciting. That's the good stuff. And so thanks for everyone who's been working on this. I remember Jeff Nutting, like, we gotta give this land to these people so we can get some more housing. And it's been a while, but, and thank you, Brian, for all the work you've done on it. I know it's a lot of work. And that's positive things, Mr. Chairman.
Without-
Thank you.
Without question. Without question. Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Jamie, I want
Just-
to give you the opportunity.
I appreciate it.
Because I know how much work.
What excites me about it is a couple things. One, all of you know, every time a senator, a rep, or Jake Auchincloss started calling me Ridge, just to see them all act so swiftly and quickly. Everybody. This is really hard work. And, to see a municipality do all this, right? This isn't what we do. We don't build houses. It's a private sector thing. And to see this come to fruition and everybody get on board, what excites me a lot is it not only will help hopefully 60 senior families in Franklin, but then those seniors can then sell their house
Exactly.
to another young family, like the Minikellys maybe, that then we'll have a generation or two that will go down the road where we'll say those folks will be in Franklin for a long time. That there's a domino effect of benefits from this that aren't just about those 60 senior families, but we hear it from a lot of seniors. They want to sell their home, they want to downsize, but they have no place to go. This is 60 units of affordable housing where hopefully a lot of folks will be on that list from town and be able to get that dream and then be able to cash in their asset to another young family in Franklin. So it's just great stuff. Thank you to all of you for the letters you've written. And anytime any of you see Secretary Augustus, okay, he's the guy that can get you the $3 million in the Affordable Homes Act because they got to go out and borrow that money. And so you can rest assured next year when I'm hopefully sitting next to the Lieutenant Governor in a couple weeks, I will be putting in a plug in her ear to say, just don't forget the $3 million for Franklin Ridge. And even every little whisper you give them, all of that matters. And the proof up here that Brian put with the money, it's proof that every time you whisper a little comment, don't forget Franklin Ridge, hey, Ed, what about that money? It matters. So Kobe, if you find yourself on the hill somewhere, right? If anybody, Bobby, anywhere, just make a mention of it. It does make a difference. So thank you to everybody for your support.
Unfortunately, Mr. Augustus was in town last week, and Jamie and I got an opportunity to give a little push.
More than a whisper, a little louder.
A little push.
He's not coming back.
Except for the ribbon cutting.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, is there anyone in council chambers that has a question? Please, come forward. Just name and address, please.
Thank you. I'm Chris Mitroni, 87 Hill Ave. This is directed through you, Councilor. You just mentioned about how they could, Franklin residents could sell their houses, but is this affordable housing? If they sell their housing, would they still be able to afford it?
Good point.
Am I asking that question?
I think I know what
You
you're
are,
saying, yeah.
Yeah, will they still qualify for affordable housing if they're selling their houses?
It depends. It's just basically, usually based on income, and certainly obviously age. So they should be able to still qualify even despite that asset. But you have to look at those guidelines. I mean, this is gonna take obviously a few years to build too. So you're looking out a few years.
Well, I'm
and,
just thinking of, because of the value of the houses in Franklin right now being up.
Also, the median income, you know, that you're talking about now, the median income is so high in Massachusetts that even 80% or 60% of area-wide median income is honestly probably most of our municipal staff that would qualify for that. Most teachers would qualify that, most police officers would qualify under those numbers, most of our staff here would. So when you look at the area-wide median income data, even at 80% of area-wide median income, that's well over probably almost $100,000 a year. So even selling a small cape or ranch on Oak Street probably isn't gonna bring that kind of money in that would trip any of those wires. But it's really based on, at that point, probably on your retirement income, whether it's a 401k or a pension, or depending on where your money's coming from, it would be based on those income.
Right, because I was concerned, would they have to spend down the asset that they have now, once they sold the house?
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone else in council chambers that has a question? Is there anyone out in Zoom land? I don't see anyone. Okay. Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Brian.
for all the work on this, and this is really exciting
Wonderful.
for the entire community. And I know it was in small print at the bottom there, but Congressman Auchincloss really came to the plate for us.
He did.
With the help of
Everybody has, yeah, he really did.
Senator Roche and Representative Roy. We can't thank all of them and everybody for all the work in bringing this
Oh.
to us.
Oh, I thought where you were going. Franklin, born and raised.
Yes,
Undersecretary Jennifer Maddox is from Franklin. She was on the slide.
yes.
I've seen her at many events. Again, just shaking hands, talking to her. She's an incredible, incredible person. I know you know her father really well. Some of you may as well.
My daughter and Jennifer went to
Yeah.
school together.
But she's now the second in charge at the State Housing Agency, has been for a long time, and Undersecretary Maddox, I know for a fact with Undersecretary Racer and the people that Brian deal with, we're all huge advocates on the $8.5 million that the administration got us in federal tax credit. So I thought the Franklin resident connection just came to me, Mr. Chairman.
Exactly.
Sorry.
My wife actually coached Jen on
Oh, really?
the cheerleading squad, so, way back. That was a few years ago. Okay.
Okay. We continue to the next portion of our.
Please.
All right. So housing development. I'm going to talk quickly about the development that's currently under construction, what's been approved for development, and what's proposed that we know about. And then we'll talk about the subsidized housing inventory for a moment. Currently, under construction, there are approximately 129 housing units, 6 different locations. These are not individual single-family homes. They're a little bit larger, obviously. We have the Taj Estates right down the street, 33 units. The engine yard on Alpine's finally under construction, and 28 units there. Uncas Ave Extension, that is 9 triplexes, I believe, that is under construction. And there's a few other smaller ones, but that will only net us 4 affordable units for our SHI. Okay, so most of these that are under construction now are not affordable units. They're regular market rates. For approved housing developments, on the other hand, we have a lot of projects that have been approved. The top two, the Madeline Village and the Chestnut Senior Village, they have been approved for a number of years. They're not under construction yet. It's probably multiple years that they've had their issues on one way or the other, so they have not begun their construction yet. On West Central Street, we have a single family, 4 units that will be under construction soon, I believe. 840 West Central Street. That's old West Central. Those are brick buildings, and they are being converted into housing. Eastern Woods Fall Lane, single family, 4 units there. Now, 100 and 110 East Central Street, there are 20 rentals right on it that will be going up or rehabbed and going up, actually. Some of each, I believe, there. Grove Street 40B, 330 units that was approved by CBA. The word on the street on that one is they will begin construction in the near future. We have the Senior Ridge Senior Housing Project, which we just talked about. And then we have the Pleasant Street 40B at the in back of the church that was approved. Those bottom 3 alone are, we're talking, what, 450? 450 units of housing, and 200, roughly 200 or so of those units, a little more than that, would be actual affordable units on our SHI. So if those were to happen in the near future, then we will end up, I know the Franklin Ridge is going forward, and there's a good chance that the Grove Street one will also. So you're going to see a substantial number of affordable units over the next few years come online if those happen. These are projections. We've heard from people, developers in the past. Panther Way Senior Village would be 48 units, with 7 being affordable. Boston Estates and Kimberly is a couple of single families. Donovan Estate, single families, 8 of them there. Autumn Hill Summer Street Senior Housing, if that were to happen, 44 units, 7 would be affordable. The Washington Street 40B at 202 Washington are they're proposed triplex condos. 12 would be affordable. And East Central Street 40B at 440 East Central Street, which we've discussed here in the past, 265 units, 63 would be affordable. In total, if you look at it, it never happens that everything gets built. Number one, okay? But the number of housing units that we know about that could get built over the next 5-10 years, I mean, it's 1,000 units. That's a substantial amount of units. 314 of those would be so-called affordable units, which would go on the SHI. But SHI actually works a little bit different. That if say, an apartment complex, say with 100 units and only 25 are affordable, all 100 units go on our SHI. They all get counted, okay? So right now, according to the state's webpage, we are at 8.6% of the housing unit. The year-round housing units are on our 40B subsidized housing inventory. Just to give you an idea what that means for today, we have 12,511 year-round housing units. The subsidized housing units are 1,359. That's what's on our SHI. It's 10.86%. So we have about 108 housing units over 10% right now. Okay, so it's not like we're pressured to do anything. We have that cushion right now. And if you take the numbers that we just looked at under the other developments and the ones that would add to the SHI, the total amount of units would be 566 coming online, but 472 of those could go on the SHI, okay? And a great example of the bottom couple, every unit on, well, the top one also, Franklin Ridge, 60 affordable units, they all go on. The Pleasant Street, 64 affordable units, they all go on, but the Grove Street, 330 total units, they're not all affordable units, but they all would go on to the
Right.
SHI. Questions?
Questions from the council? Councilor DeLorco.
Thank you, Brian. When you say affordable, how much is affordable?
It's not necessarily affordable to me. It's based on the
Middle
Boston
income.
region.
Right.
Okay, that we're included in this, so the actual median income is very high in the region. So
Mhm.
therefore, if you're just, if you get 25 affordable units going into a certain building or whatever,
Mhm.
you're still paying $2,500 or whatever it is for
So-
rent. There's a lot of money.
So I've said this before, why do we say affordable? Because it's middle class at the best.
Yeah, well, right, yeah.
At the
The
best.
so-called affordables
Yeah.
are
I
state
know it's
terms, if
nothing
you
we
will.
can do, it's
So
from the
this is what
state
it
and
is.
everything like that, it's nothing you can do, I didn't mean anything, but
I understand.
I always say that because you hear affordable.
It's a joke.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
You know, it's-
There are two housing developments in town that would allow lower,
Yeah, Pleasant Street, right?
for instance, the Pleasant Street project is a good
Mhm.
example. I forget the percentages and everything, but they're not all at 110% of mean or whatever.
Mhm.
And there would be lower cost. And also the Franklin Ridge project, and I
Okay.
don't want to tell you you're going to get a great deal there, I'm just telling you that it is likely to get a lower rent than it would be, say, across the street in Martin.
Okay. No, it's, you know where I'm coming from.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated by this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor DeLorco. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For as much as I can appreciate those numbers, Brian, and I know a lot of these numbers and projects we've been talking about for years, even though it would be keen to get many of these housing units, I can't necessarily, I agree with, like, for instance, Madeline Village. Madeline Village was kind of forced down our throats because at the time, we were less than 10% on our affordable housing, and a person came in and made a proposal to basically to move a stream and build 33 units in the middle of a neighborhood that would completely destroy the neighborhood, completely destroy the ecology, ecological area, and well as, just destroy the neighborhood, all just to use a piece of property that for all intents and purposes is landlocked. And it might sound good on paper that we're gonna get 8 units out of that, but it would just destroy that neighborhood. And I can't necessarily agree with that particular project, but it is nice to hear that there are other projects. I mean, even Grove Street can be a little, tough to swallow considering how many units are actually gonna be built over there and considering the general location to which it's going to be built. But it's still nice to see, and just my question is, if we did, and I don't recall seeing it in your slide, if we did have that 400 some odd extra units, what could that potentially put us at as a percentage-wise, since we're currently 10 point change? Could that?
If we get all the affordables built, I mean,
Yes.
we'd be up over 12 or 13%.
Okay, so you could say, that would cover us for maybe another 10 some odd.
Well, I think if we get another 100 units on, we'll probably be okay to 2030.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Sheridan?
Yeah, is there any way to encourage developers to make more? Like you said, the Pleasant Street would be lower.
There are ways to provide incentives for that, if the town would like to do things of that nature. Maybe some of the CPA funding that we have can be utilized to, incentivize, to bring down the cost on things. There are ways to do that. We have not had a lot of money until recently in those areas. Development agreements are we get one going at a time. And with Franklin Ridge, for instance, I think it'd be nice to have that with every developer, obviously.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Any other councilors?
Oh, just quickly.
Councilor Chandler?
Through you. Some of this is a little frustrating, even though there's so much affordable. Like, a lot of us up here remember in the 90s, there was 400 houses a year built. 400, maybe more. And now we're down to 8. So these younger kids, everything here is a condo at the most, or just rental. Like, it's almost like the American dream is dead for these kids. It's very frustrating. It's almost like, even just because of the way the prices are, people are forced to rent forever. I mean, these kids are just gonna be paying $2,800 affordable, affordable apartment for that much money. When we all wish they could get into a house, but it's just not gonna happen the way it's set up.
Agreed. I have 2 kids, and neither one of them have their own home. They're living in apartments. One is 42 now, and I mean, the other's 37, and they can't afford the current cost of housing in this state right now.
The American dream dead.
Right. So there are ways that, we do have a couple of parcels of land off of Veterans Memorial Way. Maybe our next projects are going to be for small, single-family homes. I don't know. I can't. It's up to the trust to decide what to do with the properties. But developers are out to make money, and if they have control of a property and they can maximize their profits, that's what they're going to do in most cases. Unless they're a nonprofit or they have a heart, if you will, and they want to do something for the community. So I think the only thing we can do is maybe we come up with some incentive programs, do something like that, but really there's very limited that the town can do to control a developer, what they do, if they have the right to do it.
Right. Thank you. I just wanted to vent a little.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Not a problem, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Frangillo?
Okay, just a few thoughts, and I don't mean to play semantics, but I think it's important how we talk about some of these. Thank you for a great presentation that really captures where we're at, and that's very helpful to know. And maybe to my first point, I think that the SHI 10% exists as a loose metric for us to understand how we're doing relative to the state, and B, something to make sure that we don't have projects forced upon us by the state. Great. And it's not actually a policy goal. We want to make sure that Franklin is affordable and accessible to people of all types. That's the goal. That does include actual deeper affordability, more than just 80%. And so talking through some opportunities to get deeper. It does include different types, different housing types, including accessory dwelling units. So just making sure that this isn't like a checkbox 10% made affordable, because of all the different ways that we even get to that number. That number is calculated like 330 units being added to that list, despite it not actually being 330 new affordable units. Those sort of things are just helpful to keep in mind. 2 quick notes. Just on the American dream, I do think it's important that the American dream might not be dead, it might be evolving. Our values of every person, mark of success is home ownership. Doesn't have to be the way for people can live fulfilling lives as renters, and I don't think that we need to look down, and I just want to make sure that we're conscious of that. That's not like a worse way of living. It is an equally valid way of living, and in fact, we know that the American Dream was actually a government subsidized program that was financially unsustainable, that put a bunch of people into homes, and so that's going to be harder. And to the other point, how do we bring housing prices down? At some point, it's a macro scale increase in the number of housing units available. The, limited supply has been what's increased prices. And then related, I'm just sensitive to like any home destroying a community. I think the ecological concerns of the Madeline Village project are certainly valid, but I just want to make sure that like we all most likely live in homes that destroyed whatever was there before, and residents came forward and said that's going to destroy, and now we're happily living in those homes. So just helpful to keep in mind that the creation of new homes for people to live, work, and play in is not necessarily a bad thing. Anyway, just a few thoughts on all of that, but very excited by the progress that we're making, and excited to make more progress that reaches deeper affordability to the people who need it.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is just a question to Jamie. It says here condo 40B in a couple of places. So I'm just curious, do those go to the town through lottery like single-family 40B? Or are condos somehow handled differently? I mean, I realize rentals are not at play here, but a condo you still own. So I'm just curious about that process, because I haven't heard of a condo 40B in Franklin until now.
Yeah, there are, I can respond quickly. There are a variety of different types of affordable homes. Some are single-family homes, for instance, that actually have a permanent restriction on them. So when they come up for sale again, they have to go through a process that they can stay in that. That's exactly the same thing with the condo associations. When they have, say they have 4 affordable units, they have to stay as affordable, and they will go from one owner to the next owner to the next owner, and they will stay in that. Some of the single-family homes in town, we actually run the auction on them ourselves, but majority of them we don't. It's up to the ownership, the property owners and things of that nature to take care of.
So only certain ones go through the lottery process then?
Right. Over the years, the town has been involved in the process in some cases, but most of them we're saying, no, you're developing it, you have a housing development, you got affordable units, you're going to deal with how they're sold and how they are resold. So it's up to the developer to have the process, and that's approved through the state and a variety of things like that. So.
Mark.
So, and when I first got here, and there was a lot of this going on, we were pretty much controlling how the lotteries ran through the town and really requiring it. But as the process has matured, the developer sometimes, depending on the program, actually has the option who they want to run the lottery, as long as, again, there is state oversight, they have to comply with their regs. Frankly, we were getting monies that we could then reinvest when we were acting as the agent to run the lotteries. We were entitled to charge an administrative fee, which we did. But the state took the position that you had to give the developer the option of how it was that they wanted to comply.
Bottom line is, there's a lottery for these affordable units.
Yeah.
Right. One way
And
or the
that is
other.
Yeah,
run by the state or run by different individuals, but overseen by the state.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Any other councilors? Anybody in council chambers? Name and address, please.
Yes, Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive. I just want to start off by saying I do believe in the supply and demand model. And I was doing some calculations in my head, Brian. I think you said you're adding, these projects that you shared with us tonight would add approximately 1,000 units to the inventory in Franklin. And we currently have 12,000. So we're talking about an 8% increase, right, in roughly more or less, 8% increase in inventory. I've got to believe, Councilor DeLorco, maybe it won't drop rental or costs of housing, but it's certainly going to have an effect that lowers those costs more than if we didn't have those 1,000 additional units here in Franklin. I've got to believe that it's going to have that effect. I guess my other question, Brian, is the target of 10% affordability. There might be a tendency to say, okay, we've made the 10%, so we can ease off. My preference would be that we kind of ignore the fact that we've made the 10%. If we're looking to try to attract more people of different levels of income and affordability to the town, I think we should blow past that 10% until it feels like we're there. So I'm wondering if you have any pressure or who decides what our target for affordable housing should be in the town of Franklin, beyond that 10% minimum.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a policy decision by town council more than anybody else. Do you want more development? Do you want to slow it down? That's really in your hands on passing regulation and/or policy decisions in general. Just a note on that 1,000 units that we're talking about. Between the 2010 and the 2020 census, we put over 1,200 housing units. We built over 1,200 during that one period. The housing prices shot up anyway, right? So it's a regional, a statewide, a national problem, but it is more than this town can do on its own to get the prices down.
Right.
It has to be a regional or statewide effort, and I think, the Affordable Housing Act, we'll see how far that gets the state in 10 years on what, how much money we can spend on all these different, in the different ways. There's so many different policies and housing programs involved in that. It might make a difference over the 5-year period of time with the bonding, and we'll see how it goes.
My sense would be that without those 1,200 additional units over that 10-year period, that costs would have been even higher for the town residents.
It very well could have been, yes.
Yep.
Is there anyone else in council chambers? Please, name and address, please.
Jane Calloway Tripp, 607 Maple Street. Couple quick questions. I agree with you. It is not affordable. I don't know anybody who can afford them, and the ones that need affordable can't get them. I know it's not anybody's fault. We didn't make those rules. That's just what they call it. But my question is this. We're at roughly 10%. If all these projects happen, we're going to be roughly at 12, 13% affordable until roughly 2030. What happens when there's no more place to build? And we can't be at the 10% because we have no more land. Council Chandler is correct. The American dream is dying. Most people grow up and they rent to start out and they want to buy and build a family. The ones that don't usually live in Boston. And if you want to live in Boston and live in apartments, then absolutely go right ahead. We may be classified as a city because of population or whatever the reasons are, but we are a hometown. I don't want to look like Framingham and Dedham and all of those other places that I avoid to go to at all cost because it's horrendous to be there. Those kind of towns, their crime rates are higher. Everything is atrocious. There's things getting destroyed. It's not okay. Why can't we, if we have to do something with affordable on one of these projects or on some of these lands, actually build something that will truly be affordable to the families and young people who actually need a place to live? Why can't we do that? I don't understand. Because you're right, we are in control of what we allow and what we don't allow. And every one of those projects were allowed and approved by some board, some committee. But if you look at the people in this town and go on Facebook, for crying out loud, and listen to them, they don't want it. They are begging for this to stop. It's time for everybody on these boards and committees to start listening to the people who fund the town. It's our town. But you're making it to a point we don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to live with Tajas all over town. I don't want to try to spend 20 minutes from getting from the middle of town to up here. It's ridiculous, and it's not your fault, so I'm not like yelling at you. I get it, but at some point in time, we gotta stop and just say enough, and let's just like fix what's already broken in the town instead of trying to keep building it, because eventually that dam's gonna burst.
Thank you. Jamie?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman, in large part, I agree with Jane's saying. We've talked about this. This decade is at a crossroads for Franklin. The American dream is nowhere near dead, but it's just evolved and it's different. When Councilor Chandler was referencing in the 90s, which I was writing some notes down, he's right. You were giving out 250 building permits on single-family houses a year. It was all farmland. It was all flat, perfect land to develop a 50-unit subdivision. Guess what? There is no more large parcels left. The town bought maybe the last couple. There's a few more in the 30 to 40 acreage, but even on those parcels, we know where they are. There's a lot of wetness to it. So ultimately, you're at a point that a lot of communities, to what Jane said, east and far east, like the Belmonts and the Brooklines and stuff like that, Dedhams, they faced off with this. Milton just went through this, right? They had a town meeting vote on MBTA communities. People then that weren't at town meeting were angry. They went out, they did a ballot question, and then they got sued by the Attorney General. And a lot of that has to do with what Jane said about community identity and who are you and what do you want to be. A lot of people argue if we want to be a single family home community only, well, to Jane's point, if you stop everything, those prices on single family homes are going to continue to go through the roof. But if you build, Jane also is correct, you start going down this pathway toward fill in the blank of whatever community you don't want to be, right? And next thing you know it, you have things that are happening, that projects that people are unhappy about on Facebook, like maybe across the street or whatever. I would note that on that list of proposed housing projects, to Councilor Sheridan's question, how do we get developers or others to want to build affordable housing? Well, the number one barrier a developer has is a bank. You go to get lending and capital, banks frown upon affordable housing. Why? Because you're bringing in less money to pay off that debt. This is an issue we've talked about at the housing, at the commissions up at the state level. We've spoken to the governor about these issues. Those issues are real for developers. The two projects on that list that have lower than 80% of the area-wide median income are completely publicly funded projects, almost. Both the Pleasant Street project and the Franklin Ridge project are almost heavily purely subsidized through public money. Private developers, there's one project on that where a developer said, I will be happy to do the 10% affordables right over here down in Taj Estates, right? Or number 2, rather, Taj 2. That was basically a concession or an offering, or I will be happy to do this. That is extremely rare. And that person should be commended for even those 4 units. That is 4 units. It's something. I would say the master plan, I would say public feedback to what Jane's saying. This decade is a decade where you're going to referee where do you want to be 2030 and beyond? What kind of community do you want to look like? Because if you stay single family homes, you're going to be the next millionaires club in Eastern Massachusetts of homes. And if you build, higher buildings, people obviously don't want to live in the community where there's 6-story buildings. And so I think what you're going to find over the next several years are very tense conversations throughout the community about the issues that Jane just brought up. But how she characterized that is pretty fair and pretty real, but you can't do both. You can't not become Framingham or Dedham or whatever other community you want to use, but then also just do nothing. So it is a very, very challenging and very difficult thing. And I think as the town moves forward, they're gonna have to really consider, you know, concepts like a redevelopment authority, concepts that are different about how you really strategically dig down into the regulatory framework of how you set out not just zoning, but all of those criteria and dimensional requirements around what it is you're looking to do in the future, because there is no way to avoid. Where the American dream is still real, just go right up 495 onto the Mass Pike, down Route 9, go west, because that's what it was one day in Belmont. People said, well, we don't want to be like this. Milton, we don't want to be like this. Well, then it just keeps moving down west.
Exactly.
And if you go out to Palmer, you go out to Otis, you go to the Berkshires, you go to Central Mass, you can go out there and get a 3-acre parcel of land and build a house, and you can have the American dream. But to Brian's point, Councilor Chandler's point, the American dream of the traditional single-family home, half-acre lot, that is gone in Franklin from the standpoint, because there is pretty much no land left other than what Brian had on the screen of maybe those 4 houses, 2 houses, or something like that. So she raises excellent, excellent points, and I'm sure on Facebook is ablaze with all sorts of opinions. So it's certainly a lot of decisions for the community to make forward in the future, because these are very emotional conversations. We've heard them in this chamber, all of you know that, and we're trying to all put our best feet forward to try to figure those things out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Any other questions or comments?
Just a big thank you.
Brian, thank you for
Brian.
putting that presentation
Thank you,
together.
Brian.
It was certainly enlightening.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, for sure. And much food for thought as we move forward. Okay, moving on, legislation for action. First item, bylaw amendment 25-922, amendment to the sewer system map, first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 25-922, bylaw to amend the Code of Town of Franklin at Chapter 139, subsection 139-14, sewer system map, be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 139, subsection 139-14 of the Code of Town of Franklin entitled Sewer System Map, Exhibit A map, be amended by adding an eligible location to the following: 319-14 sewer system map, Exhibit A, extending sewer system for Franklin Ridge Senior Affordable Housing Development. Town will be constructing the extension of Veterans Memorial Drive from the Eaton Place Senior Housing Facility located at 20 Veterans Memorial Drive to end at Irondequoit Road, did I say that correctly? At the point of intersection of Mucciaroni Road. The proposed sewer extension will extend the existing sewer main by approximately 700 feet. This bylaw shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 25-922 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion.
The next 2 votes are for the water and sewer hookups at Franklin Ridge.
Yeah, I guess.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is probably the $50 million question, Jamie, but I have to ask it.
Sure.
So oftentimes we hear about the enormous costs of connecting any development anywhere in town to town water and sewer just being prohibitive. And sometimes we see developments built where they actually will construct a private septic, something like that. I'm going to assume, and just for everyone's education, I'm assuming with Franklin Ridge, it is less expensive to tie into nearby Franklin Water and Sewer instead of building a private septic system?
That's correct.
And those numbers have all been looked at, and
Absolutely.
that's just something staff does, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep, it's all part of the grant money too.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Any other councilors? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 25-922 to a second reading. A majority of votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bylaw amendment 25-933, amendment to water system map, first reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 25-923, amendment to the water sewer map, a bylaw to amend the code of town of Franklin at chapter 179, section 179-9.1, water system map. Be enacted by the town council of the town of Franklin at chapter 179-9.1 of the code of town of Franklin, entitled Water System Map Exhibit A map be amended by adding as an eligible location the following. Section 179-9.1 Water System Map Exhibit A, extending water main from Franklin Ridge Senior Affordable Housing Development. Town will be constructing the extension of Veterans Memorial Drive from Eaton Place Senior Housing Facility located at 20 Veterans Memorial Drive to end at Arundequit Road at the point of intersection with Mucciarone Road. The proposed water main will be connected to the existing main at Arundequit Road and will also include new booster pump station located at the intersection of Veterans Memorial Drive and Panther Way to replace the existing pump station on Iroquois Road. This bylaw amendment shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 25-923 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. Besides Councilor Jones not knowing how to pronounce
Mucciarone.
You can tell he's not a Franklin.
Rhonda Coit.
Rhonda Coit. Okay.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Thank you for the clarification.
I couldn't let it go. The Mucciarones in the audience.
I'm originally from Watertown, so it's my accent carried down with me.
Any other questions or comments?
I gotta make something up.
Saying none, the vote will come on the motion to move zoning bylaw amendment 24-918 to a second reading. Majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-917, a zoning bylaw to amend chapter 185, section 3 of the code of the town of Franklin, definitions, accessory dwelling units. First reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 24-917, changes to section 185-3, definitions, accessory dwelling unit definition, a zoning bylaw to amend the chapter 185, section 3 of the code of town of Franklin, be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council, that chapter 185 of the code of town of Franklin is hereby amended at section 185-3 definitions by deleting the following texts. The owner of record shall live on the property. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment. 24-917 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion.
See, they screwed up there. They put 923 and 923. That's what was screwing me up.
Seeing no discussion, the vote will come on the motion to move zoning bylaw amendment 25-923 to a second reading. I'm sorry, 917.
17.
Yeah, I think did do that wrong. Okay, to a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-918, a zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code at chapter 185, section 8, use regulations schedule. What's that Roman numeral number?
7.
7. Accessory uses. First reading. Clerk will read the zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-918, zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code, chapter 185, attachment 8, use regulations schedule part 7, accessory uses be enacted by the Franklin Town Council, that chapter 185 of the Code of Town of Franklin is hereby amended by the following additions and/or deletions to Section 185, Attachment 8, Use Regulation Schedule Part 7, Accessory Uses. What's been added is a change to A21, Accessory Dwelling Units, and a note 8, second accessory dwelling unit on the same parcel will require a special permit from the ZBA.
Move zoning bylaw amendment.
Nope, hold on. Got one more line.
Close-
The
close
foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-918 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item, zoning bylaw amendment 24-919, a zoning bylaw to amend Chapter 185, Section 20 of the Code of the Town of Franklin, signs at C3. Clerk will read the zoning bylaw amendment, and then we will move to continue this to January 22nd.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second.
That's,
Second.
Motion second to waive the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Move,
Motion carries. Go ahead.
move,
Motion.
motion to continue first reading of zoning bylaw amendment 24-919 to January 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second to move, to continue the first reading of zoning bylaw amendment 24-919 to January 22nd, 2025. Any questions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-920, a zoning bylaw to amend Chapter 185, Section 20 of the Code of the Town of Franklin, signs at E2. First reading, clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning
Motion
bylaw
to waive the
amendment.
reading.
Second.
Motion is second to waive the reading. All those in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to continue first reading to zoning bylaw amendment 24-920 to January 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to continue the first reading of zoning bylaw amendment 24-920 to January 22nd, 2025. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on, Resolution 25-01, acceptance of gifts, Senior Center, $1,672, Veterans Department, $3,125. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 25-01, acceptance of gifts, Senior Center and Veterans Services Department, whereas the Franklin Senior Center and Veterans Service Department have received generous donations in a total amount of $4,797 to be used at the discretion of each department as follows. Senior Center, $1,672 donation to be applied at the discretion of the Senior Center through the Council on Aging Gift Fund to provide services and programs to senior citizens in the Franklin community. Veteran Services Department, $3,125. Gift Fund, $3,000. And Franklin Municipal Veterans Assistance Fund, $125. Donations to be used at the discretion of the Veteran Services Department through the Veterans Gift Fund and the Franklin Municipal Veterans Assistance Fund in support of local veterans and their families. Donor information is included in the January 8, 2025 Town Council meeting agenda packet. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Senior Center and Veteran Services Department, gratefully accept these generous donations to be used at the discretion of each department for the purposes noted above. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-01.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion.
Thank you.
Seeing none beyond
Thank you.
another great big thank you to all of our local businesses and residents who continue to support our different organizations, be it the veterans, be it the senior center, be it fire, be it police, the continued generosity of our residents as well as our clubs within the community and our local businesses are greatly appreciated. Seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 25-01. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town Administrator's report.
Super quickly, I just want to relay all of our license renewals are complete. They've been out the door. Just want to thank all the businesses, especially Julie in my office, for an incredible seamless job. The process with licensing every year just gets easier and easier because of her hard work. And I don't know if this is a bit of irony, Mr. Chairman, but Chapter 355, kind of like 355 East Central Street, of the Acts of 2024, Senator Roush and Rep. Roy contacted me earlier. Our home rule was officially signed by the governor today. For those that don't know, because I had forgotten about the whole thing too, we filed a home rule 2 years ago to exempt the town of Franklin from the mandatory state law that we publish every public hearing, bylaw change, and everything in a published newspaper, print newspaper. I testified with Jeff in June, and I was actually optimistic because all the senators and reps looked at me and said, that makes a lot of sense. But usually these things are harder. And again, Franklin is known as a leader. Why? We are one of 2 communities that now have this exemption. And the Mass Municipal Association is now filing legislation to make this permanent statewide next year. So Franklin can be really proud of our efforts. Councilor Jones, Mercer, I know all of you have been hearing about this for many, many years. And just thank Jeff and Becca for all their efforts, and Governor Healy for signing that today. But so it's official. So we're sending out guidance to all the boards to be effective February 1st. And everything will be on our town website on a legal notices section, which is already there. And any resident, any interested party can sign up for all of those legal notices to come straight to their inbox, so nobody can ever say they didn't know what was going on. So really great free service for our residents, and congratulations to the council. Congratulations to the community, and thanks Jeff and Becca for your efforts.
And we
Thank you.
avoid the costs of putting it in the newspaper.
Well, not only do we avoid the cost, I know we don't hear this much, but residents and/or applicants and businesses who file applications, probably 75% of the money that goes out the door is actually mostly saving them money. So that's a really good thing for an applicant for an ADU or even a subdivision or a conservation commission. All those businesses and developers or anyone else that has to do that stuff, liquor licensing, they won't have to pay for a legal ad. So, so it's really exciting. I think everybody's gonna save a few bucks, and it'll make things more easy for everybody to know what's going on. So really excited. Thank you for all of your leadership on that, and it's now law.
Thank you, Jamie. Yeah. Okay, subcommittee reports. Capital has not met. EDC has. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the EDC met tonight before the before the town council meeting. We went over our priorities and our goal lists. We've, I think we have a pretty good list. We're going to keep working on what we have and hopefully get a lot more done. We've added a few of the things from the master plan to start with that we think we can do right away. So it's really exciting. Really all very happy to be back at work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin.
I don't know if the staff is, but we're all happy.
The Budget Subcommittee has not met, but we do have some listening, joint Budget Subcommittee listening sessions coming up starting the end of the month, going through February, and actually, I think into early March. So please tune in, and there is.
Hold up the flag. Is there
Councilor,
one on your?
I mean, Jamie, our town administrator is holding up the flag.
Hold up the flyer. This is.
So it has all the listening sessions there, and they are posted on the website. And we look forward, we're having them in many different places across the town, at the Elks, at the high school, at the senior center, trying to reach out to as much of the community as we possibly can. So we look forward to seeing our residents come forward. Master plan, Councilor Jones.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We haven't met since the first week of December, but we have our next meeting scheduled for January 15th. Next week, we had some fine tuning that had to be done during the course of the holidays. That's been done. The Barrett, Bader and Barrett are compiling the changes and the input from the public. We are planning on inviting the planning board and members of the planning board to be part of this meeting next week so that we can get any feedback and input from them that they may have in regards to the current draft. And then after that, we're still on track to do a presentation to the planning board later in January, and then eventually the town council. You'll get word from me on that.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Jones. Police Station Building Committee has not met. GATRA, anything, Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah, we haven't met, but the public, they do these regularly scheduled public meetings that can be attended virtually, and there are also virtual options hosted at the senior center. The next one is January 23rd at 2:30. So it's Thursday, January 23rd, 2:30 to 3:30. You can either log in directly from your home, or you can stop by the senior center where they have a full virtual participation room set up.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Future agenda items. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only one I had, and I think I brought it up before, would be to see if we could get someone to come in from the water department and just explain to residents about the water reports. That there continues to be a lot of questions and discussion, particularly to Ms. Callaway-Tripp's point about Facebook. There's a lot of confusion out there around what people are reading and what people are hearing, and now that fact-checking is gone on Facebook, it's only going to get worse. So I think if someone from DPW Water could come and dispel those rumors and help people understand who they should contact if they have questions about their water, maybe what the reports say, what the acceptable public water levels are. I think that would all be very, very helpful.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Plagley.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Sheridan.
Yeah, going from what Mark said, I'd like to add discussion about setting a goal for the higher than 10%.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, can do that. Councilor Frangillo.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Hamlin.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Jones.
Just a reminder of the request for facilities to come in.
Councilor
Nothing.
Delarco. Okay, councilor comments. Councilor Sheridan.
Happy New Year.
Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, happy New Year. Do we have office hours next
Next
week?
Thursday,
Next
week
Thursday.
from tomorrow.
Okay, great. Then I'll see you there, hopefully, maybe.
Hopefully, maybe.
We're open.
We'll see.
Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy New Year, everyone. And the Winters Farmers Market will be held this Saturday at Fairmont Fruit Farm on Lincoln Street from 10 to 2. So go down there and get your honey and your fresh vegetables and all kinds of good stuff.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Happy New Year to everyone. My condolences to the Gregory family, in particular for the sudden loss of their mom. We're thinking of you guys. And more of just a generality. I don't know who would do this, so I'm just throwing it out there into the universe in my comments. But I think some sort of a forum on how a senior can get to senior housing would be fantastically well received at the senior center, or, you know, maybe here some night or at the Elks. I think to the woman's comment earlier about, do I sell my house and then can I still afford to get into affordable house? I certainly hear that a lot, and it's a very valid question. There's a lot of legalities behind that stuff and financial stuff, so I think if somebody, it's not me, but somebody could sort of take that on and I mean, I'm happy to come and lend whatever help I can to it, but I think a panel or, you know, some specialists to help our seniors through that process would be very, very well received. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. First, kind of a little bit of a sad note. I know another pipe burst at the senior center. I just hope there's not too much damage and
Nope.
minimal. Good, okay, I'm glad to hear that. I know Councilor Jones brought up the facilities. We're still waiting on that one piece there. I think we've all seen that right above the chairman. It's been missing for
We just wanted to give him.
I'm waiting for
6
Santa
years.
Claus to drop out or something.
We're just trying to give him a out in case him or the chair of the school committee or the planning board comes down. Batman.
And lastly, tonight was my last Economic Development Committee meeting. I want to thank my crew down there for all their hard work. And I know you're going to keep things going and get more business to Franklin and everything else. So thank you very much for that. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank the senior center for their wonderful display of trees that they had, and all the departments that put in all the work to decorate them and all. It was just great. And the people that are there, there's many, many, many on a daily basis, you know, with all the programs that they give. I think we have, I know we have the best senior center in all surrounding towns. And I go up there because I play cards. And the people that I play with are from out of town. And they say the same thing. You don't know how, I said, I do know how lucky we are. This is wonderful, this center over here. And I just want to thank the staff and all of that they did a great job. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. I didn't know you were old enough to go to the senior center.
55.
They make an exception.
It's for everyone. It's for everyone, you know.
I couldn't resist.
Oh, we can go.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if I could put a request into Jamie or to Amy, can we change the way our resolutions are written for dates? Because this, like, for instance, it says donor information is included in the 1/8/2025 town council. Can we just write that out, January 8th, 2025? It's a small clerical change. But it just kind of matches A, what's on the agenda.
Sure.
And B, it's just makes more sense to be written up. Just a small thing, small request.
You got it.
Thank you. And the other thing, and I know everyone's talking about how very fortunate we are. I think we really kind of have to take some time and everyone say some prayers for Palisades in Los Angeles County, California. For what I think I'd last heard was about 1,000 homes lost already. And thousands and thousands of people are being displaced and losing all of their valuables and losing their homes. And this is an unbelievable tragedy that's occurring right now as we speak. And hopefully, God, you know, will give some kind of rain, something drop, you know, die down the winds, give the firefighters an opportunity to kind of catch up on things. But you know, this is I couldn't believe it when I watched it earlier today. So I just wanted to say that prayers to everybody out there in California. You know, it made me think about the fires that we had here in Massachusetts and how fortunate we were to escape, you know, what could have been a far worse situation. So anyways, That's about it, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor DeLarco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to give condolences to the Rispel family. He passed away last week, and their family has been very involved for a while. I happen to be, very good friends with the whole family, and my kids hang around with their kids, so that's how that goes. But it's funny you should mention the senior center, because I didn't know a pipe burst. But yesterday, I had a doctor's appointment, and I went to breakfast at the senior center, and your friend Ricky Saccone and about 4 other guys came to me and hammered me about they have to get up when it's cold like this. They gotta get up and move the sandwich tiles to get some heat up there.
That's right.
I mean, obviously it wasn't built right. Let's face it. I've never heard of that before, but I don't know if it's not insulated right, Gus, or what is it? It's not insulated right? Let's face it, it's not right if they have to get up and open up and get heat up there. You're a building commissioner, you should know that.
Not during council comments.
No, you don't have to, but he won't let you because he was on the building committee. And he knows it. But that's a disgrace.
Oh, my God. We tried to go after the architect at the time.
I know you did, I know you did. You were,
It can't get built without an engineer's seal.
right.
And stamp, and it was, and
Then that's what
I
you go
agree
by.
with you.
Yes, yeah.
It's definitely an issue.
Jeez.
It's an issue, I had a meeting before this meeting with the fire chief, facilities director, building commissioner, talking about what we're going to do with the dry system
Yeah, it's
that's
a
on
dry
the second,
system,
on the
right.
second floor, so.
Nothing you did, but, yeah. Jesus Christ.
So, a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank Brian Taverner for both presentations this evening.
Yes, very nice.
They were very well done and great information, a lot of good information that you need some time to digest, for sure. I'd also like to offer my condolences to the DeGrazia family, who Millie DeGrazia, one town Franklin, passed away this morning.
Oh, geez.
And our condolences go out to her family. And I'd also like to say good luck to Councilor Frangillo.
Yes, good luck.
Who's going in to have a new hip tomorrow. And
Yep. Get to be square.
Thank you.
everything's gonna be good, so good
He'll be
luck
good.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good luck, folks.
So with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. one
Good
and
luck,
all.
Kobe. Call me if you need